Good morning, everyone.
Hi.
Hi, happy Sunday. We're really happy to spend this time to share with you, and we just want to share some announcements, and Pastor Mike has a video and a message prepared as well. So first off, we wanted to start by saying that last week we mentioned that Lonestar was going virtual, or basically canceled, and we wanted to apologize for saying it that way. Really, it isn't being basically canceled. The staff is putting a lot of effort and care into creating a really wonderful experience for all the kids who participate virtually. They're still having a staff workshop, preparing a lot internally, and really seeing how they can create something really awesome despite being virtual. So we want to apologize for maybe painting it the wrong way a little bit. I think we were discouraged ourselves, but we're still excited to give our presentations for it through Zoom, and we want to encourage you to look into it and see what can work for you and your family and for your kids.
Mm-hmm. Another thing that happened this week is that our co-founder, Mrs. Moon, our true mother, her memoirs have been published and are finally available in English. And they're available for order right now through hsabooks.com. And you can order a copy there. Unfortunately, we found that the shipping price is really quite high. So the book is, the normal price is $17.95, but then once you add shipping and taxes in, you're paying $30. And some of you may be happy to do that. And that might be a bit of a stretch for some of you. So what we're doing is we found that if we order kind of like in bulk, like we've done in the past, then we can get the shipping cost reduced a lot to about $2 a book. So we've gone ahead and ordered 30 books. And so if you would like a copy of the book, hopefully those will be here within the week or so. And please, you're welcome to stop by and pick up a copy. And you can just drop off a check or payment in the office. And that would be really great. Just let us know.
And also, if you want to buy a bulk order yourself, then you can go online and get them with the discounted shipping if you buy in bulk.
Yeah. So, so that's really exciting. I'm personally very excited to read Mother's memoirs and learn more about her life. And so hopefully as a community that we can feel a little bit closer to her and understand her life a little bit better, where she's coming from these days. Mm-hmm. Oh, also, this has kind of been a crazy week for renovations. We've been planning certain things to get started with the exterior renovation and to also work on the chapel, especially since we've had this extended period of time where we haven't been using it. But everything kind of came together all at once, and it was kind of crazy. So last Sunday, we had some volunteers here. We're really grateful for Felicia and Tremont and Michael Winterrood and Dave Mahardy and Mark Verexes for stepping in and helping out with tearing out the carpet and pulling out staples and nails and kind of doing the work necessary to get us started on our chapel renovation. So it was a lot of work, but they worked really hard and did a great job. So we're working on that now still, and also rewiring the AV. My dad's been helping with the audio video stuff. And also, the first step of our exterior renovation is basically finished, and that's replacing the front entryway. So we're going to show you a little video, a little walkthrough, so you can kind of see what that looks like. And yeah, still kind of in process, but it's looking really great. I'm excited about how it's going to look when it's all done.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Rolling.
Hi, everybody. Just want to show you some of the work that we've been doing in the chapel.
Ooh.
Yeah, so it's been kind of crazy. We've taken out the carpet in here. It's kind of the first step in order to be able to rearrange things a little bit. So pardon the mess, but it was a lot of work. I mean, if you've ever taken out carpet before, it's not just ripping some carpet out. There's staples, there's nails, there's tack strips, there's all kind of stuff. But it's been really awesome. You can see here, there's used to be an AV station. It's gone.
No more AV.
So, yeah, we're moving everything to the back of the chapel. So, yeah, right now we're just kind of testing it to see, is this going to work with us with the acoustics and the noise level, and how was the wood look under the carpet? That was kind of a big question that we had, because if it was really damaged, that was going to be an issue. But the wood looks really great. It does need we're going to have to do some polishing, once we move the pews out. But I'm really excited because the wood does look really nice. I think it's going to look really great once we finish everything. And
there's our new AV station, temporary.
Yeah, temporary AV station for now, just rewiring things. Under this carpet was tile, so we are putting in what's called a engineered hardwood floor. So this will be a really good quality floor that I think will look really, really nice and clean. And then the other really cool thing that happened this week is we did the front entryway area.
Ta-da!
This is kind of crazy how big of a difference this makes in terms of the light coming in and just the overall look and feel. I'm really happy
welcomingness.
Yeah. Yeah, I really feel like it's really welcoming and inviting, very open. So yeah, still putting the finishing touches on it. But as you can see, it's kind of the look.
Yep. Also, just a kind of last call for recipes. Thank you so much to everybody who's responded and sent in your directions and your recipes and your pictures. I know that it takes some effort and intention to do that. So they've been coming in, and I would like to start putting it together, or finish putting it together and get it printed before long. So if you've been wanting to do it, but you just haven't done it, then this is a good week to do it.
How many recipes do you think you have so far?
Oh, I've put in about 12, but in the last few days I've gotten so many more, so I probably have close
20,
to 30
30
to 30.
Wow.
Yeah, so lots
Great.
and I'm excited. I think what I want to do is, when I have all these recipes compiled, I'm going to go through it and bake every single recipe in the cookbook. It's going to be fun.
All right. Well, those are basically our announcements for today. So a lot of exciting things happening, and we're gonna have a video playing now. Actually, this is you may have seen this if you're on Facebook, but this is a really cool video that was put together by a young unificationist from Japan, and he decided to create kind of like a virtual. One of those virtual singing videos where you have people from all over the world. He's got 21 countries represented, and these people are all singing Grace of the Holy Garden, and he put it together in a really nice way and showcases each country and whatnot. And I just thought it was a really wonderful, beautiful offering that he did, that to share with our worldwide movement, and also in some ways kind of really shows our diversity and all these people singing this song together. So I hope you enjoy that video.
Grace filling me with all the light, measureless blessing divine. God gives His eternal light to me, perfect rejoicing is mine. Glorious restoring in my heart, oh my Father above. Gratefully I give, offering to me, triumphant glorious love. Joy surging like an ocean wave, flowing so deep in my soul. Hope rises as I go in praise, knowing that man will be whole. Glorious the song ringing in my heart, oh my Father above. Gratefully I give, offering to Him, triumphant glorious love. to be true. I'm blessing in my heart, oh God, Father, my life is for you. Glorious song ringing in my heart, for my Father above. Victory and He offering to Him, triumph and glorious love. Glorious song ringing in my heart, for my Father above. Victory and He offering to Him, triumph and glorious love.
Okay, well, thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed that. I've listened to it several times and really felt it was really a beautiful. The song is the song, but just the kind of the way it's offered is really nice. It's a really nice offering. So I want to share a message today, and I don't really have a title for it, but my message was kind of born out of a quote that I saw earlier in the week on my quotes app. And the quote is from Reverend Moon, our founder, and he said, "Be a friend to both good and evil people, but never become reconciled with evil. Rather, act as a magnet to turn others around to the good side." I thought that this was a really kind of an interesting quote. I feel like in some ways when I see people's interactions on social media, and especially this week with the tragedy in Minneapolis and that all the riots and demonstrations, and it's really sad. Of course, that this kind of thing shouldn't be happening. It was really wrong what happened to that man. But what I often see when these kind of things happen is kind of an escalation in, I guess, blame that people place on each other. Because of our differences, whether it's because of religious or ideological differences, or parenting differences, or political differences, a lot of times people will point fingers at one another and say, it's because of your kind of people that these kind of things happen, or it's because of people like you that that these problems don't get fixed, and different things like that. And I think that sometimes it's really easy that we feel justified to place blame on other people. I think taking it out of the macro scale and bringing it to our personal lives, it's easy to blame our children. Oh, you made me do that, you pushed me too far. And so don't blame me if I, crack, or if I yell at you, or something like that. Or we can blame our husband, or we can blame our wife, or we can blame our parents, or we can blame our coworkers, we can blame the church, we can blame our boss. When things, go bad in our lives, or we're just not really happy with the results that we see, or many, many different things, many different things. But I think that that's never, when we look at the history of God's providence through the Bible and through the divine principle, then we find that this was not really God's attitude towards human beings. And this has not really been God's process through restoration. And the principle makes it really clear that God set up Jacob and Esau, and God set up Moses, and God set up Jesus' course to show us the example of how to create goodness out of evil, how to bring evil to natural submission, not forceful submission, but natural submission through love and through service. And so this quote kind of stood out to me in a lot of ways, because there's certain things that really stick out to me. First of all, it says, be a friend to both good and evil people. First of all, of course, this is recognizing that there is good and evil. And this is not actually something that all people recognize or understand or admit, because a lot of people don't really believe in this concept of good and evil. So morally relativistic, right? Like there's nothing bad and there's nothing particularly good. It's all just what it is. But True Father is saying that, well, there is a good and there is evil. And I'm going to go into that a little bit later to discuss a little bit more what that is, because I think that oftentimes those terms, good and evil, elicit like a strong emotion within us. Maybe because maybe you were told that if you did this evil thing, you were banished to burn in hell for the rest of eternity or something like that. You know, a lot of different things, kind of a baggage of religious terminology kind of comes up there. It also says that we should be friends to all kinds of people, essentially. And I think that when the word friend is used here, it's not just meaning to be an acquaintance or a neighbor, but actually to be a friend to somebody means to be a giver to that person, to actually put that person's needs, in front of your own when time calls for it, when the demand is there. To care about that person, to sacrifice for that person, to give to that person, to treat them as if they were maybe even a part of your family. I think that oftentimes if we see somebody that we don't agree with or we don't like, then we give them a pass in this area. Like, oh, maybe I might talk with them, but I may not really care about them in their life and investing into them.
I generally try to avoid them.
Or avoid them, yes. Yeah, that's the kind of thing. And then the next part says, never become reconciled with evil. I think that's interesting too. So what does reconcile mean? So reconcile means to accept something. So even though we should be friends to both good and evil people, we should not accept evil behavior as being acceptable or from God or okay. And then lastly, act as a magnet to turn others around to the good side. Notice it doesn't say force them to become good or push them to become good or, act as a magnet. That's an interesting way of saying something. Act as a magnet. That's almost like, how magnets work, right? They naturally attract or repel, right? So if we're a magnet, then we are attracting somebody to follow my way, follow my direction. How do we do that? So I want to talk a little bit about that. So what is good and what is evil? That's kind of an interesting topic, right? I mean, a lot of people have called a lot of different things evil, right? And a lot of people have called a lot of things good. So I want to kind of, instead of giving my opinion about what I think good and evil is, I want to share about what the principle says about it. The principle says that an act or the result of an act is considered good when it fulfills God's purpose of creation. This takes place when a subject partner and an object partner unite through the harmonious and spirited give and take of love and beauty, become the third object partner to God, and form the four-position foundation. On the other hand, an act or its result is called evil when it violates God's purpose of creation by forming a four-position foundation under the dominion of Satan. For example, when an individual realizes God's first blessing and fulfills his true purpose, the actions to this end are good, and the individual is good. These actions involve the free-flowing give and take of love and beauty between the mind and the body, so that they unite in the way of God and form the individual four-position foundation. When Adam and Eve achieved the second blessing by building a family that realizes God's purpose, their actions to this end are good, and the family they form is good. These actions include joining as a couple in the way of God through the harmonious and passionate sharing of love and beauty, bearing and raising children, and thus establishing the family four-position foundation. Moreover, when a perfect individual achieves a third blessing, the actions to this end are good, and all things that he nurtures are good. By relating with the natural world as his second self, and by becoming completely one with it, a union is formed which becomes the third object partner to God. thus constructing the four-position foundation of dominion. Conversely, when a person forms a four-position foundation under the bondage of Satan and realizes a purpose contrary to God's three great blessings, this act or its result is called evil. This demonstrates that although good and evil elements or actions may take the same form, their true nature may be discerned through their fruits. They yield their fruits in accordance with the divergent purposes they pursue. So, I know a lot of terminology there, but basically what it's saying, I believe, is that even though actions of good and evil people and good and evil actions can sometimes look the same, the definition of whether it's good or not is not rooted in the action itself as much as it's rooted in what is the end result. What is the fruit of the action? Is this action or this habit or this mindset or this thought or whatever allowing me to become a person that fulfills God's purpose for my life? Is this allowing me, enabling me, promoting me to be a person that has a mind and body that is united under fulfilling God's will for my life and helping me to create a sense of closeness with God? Is it allowing me and helping me to create a God-centered family, a God-centered marriage, God-centered children? And is it allowing me to build a relationship with nature or this world or with the greater community around me that reflects God's desire and wish for my life? This is kind of like the ultimate question. If the answer is yes, then it is good. And if the answer is no, and if that thought, that habit, that action is actually distracting me or deterring me from accomplishing those things, then it's not good. So in some ways, it's very simple, but it's also very clear and it's very broad. It's not about a specific action, but it's about the fruits of those actions. And it's kind of interesting that the topic of fruit is, and I've talked about this before in length, but the topic of fruit is very prevalent in the Bible. Jesus talks about fruit. The story of Adam and Eve is all about fruit and trees and engrafting and all these kind of things is a very interesting things. And it's kind of interesting that, I'm going to read this. This is from Matthew 7. Jesus is saying, "Watch out for false prophets. They come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ferocious wolves. By their fruit you will recognize them. Do people pick grapes from thorn bushes or figs from thistles? Likewise, every good tree bears good fruit, but a bad tree bears bad fruit. A good tree cannot bear bad fruit, and a bad tree cannot bear good fruit. Every tree that does not bear good fruit is cut down and thrown into the fire. Thus by their fruit you will recognize them." So it's kind of interesting. As you know, we planted these plum trees in front of the church, 4 years ago, something like that. And, when we were looking at what to replace these bushes with, I was really inspired by getting fruit trees because I thought, how cool would it be if these trees could grow and produce, because one tree can produce lots of fruit, hundreds of plums. And I thought, how cool would it be if, kids come to church on Sunday and then after church they go out and look at all these plums, it's like, just like another thing to add to the experience. Also neighbors could walk by and get a fresh plum or something like that. And I just thought, this would be a really cool way to add to the experience. But I had no idea how much work it takes to nurture fruit trees or probably trees in general. I don't know, but this is my only experience. And I don't have a lot of skill or experience with gardening, so this has all been over the past 3 or 4 years or whatever it's been quite the experience for me learning how to care for these trees because they need a lot of work. And you have to keep them watered. And the first year and also this year, they got lots of aphids. We had a deep freeze in the middle of March. And it killed all the blooms that were on the tree, and the tree started to look really the tree started to look kind of sad. And I realized that there's all these aphids in the trees, these little bugs that basically eat the sap and the nutrients from the tree leaves. And if you don't, they can really stunt the growth of the tree and damage the tree if you leave them unchecked. So I've realized how much work it takes to actually get a tree to the point where it's actually bearing good fruit. It's not just a simple matter of just natural growth, although maybe in a different climate, like in Missouri or somewhere where there's a lot of rain and, not so many aphids, I don't know, that they would grow better. But here in Colorado, at least, it takes a lot of care, and there's pruning involved, and there's, you got to spray them with something to get rid of the aphids or other diseases. You got to cut off the little trees that are growing up around it and put down some mulch and so on and so forth. And I realized that actually producing good fruit is not an easy thing to do. And it's kind of the same thing in our lives as well. Our fruit is like the results of our life. It's the results of our actions, our habits, our attitudes, our relationships, our efforts, our investments. And our fruit, of course, our fruit comes about in many different ways, right? Maybe it could be, our children. Our children are kind of like the most obvious examples of our fruit. But then there's things like finances, and there's things like creative projects, and then there's things like our relationships. What are the quality of our relationships? Our relationship as a husband and wife, our relationship with our parents, our relationship with our kids, our relationship with the people in our lives. Are they relationships focused around? It's interesting. We walk around the Sloan's Lake every day these days because to get some exercise, and we have some extra time on our hands. And as you're walking past people, you hear little snippets of their conversation. It's amazing how many people are complaining about other people in their lives. It's really quite interesting, and I guess maybe we do that every once in a while as well. But it's amazing how often it is, and is that something to consider? Quality of our relationships, like what is there that is the fruit of those interactions and the way that we treat one another, and so on and so forth. So at the end of the day, I think that regardless of differing beliefs and understandings and where we are at in our lives, all people are searching for happiness. All people are looking for fulfillment in their lives. And in this quote, it says, act as a magnet to turn others around to the good side. Well, how do you do that? And I believe that it's not as hard as you think it is, because everybody's natural inclination is to find fulfillment and happiness, rightness with God in their life. We're not always connected to that mode of thinking. We're not always thinking about that. But I think that we recognize it when we see it. We recognize good fruits when we see them. People recognize goodness in Jesus when he was alive. Maybe they didn't stand up for him when he was going to the cross. Maybe they weren't there for him during his actual life. But people could recognize who Jesus was. And even in that, after this part I read in Matthew, it said the people were amazed because Jesus spoke as one, not speaking like one of the, Pharisees or one of the scholars, but as one with authority. He was speaking as one who lived what he was teaching. And so I think that that's kind of our challenge for us in our life too, to produce the kind of fruits in our life and to live with the kind of oneness with God's word and God's will in our life that produces the kind of fruits that people see, and at some point they're thinking, I want those kind of fruits too. Maybe the way I've lived my life hasn't really produced the best kind of fruits. And that's a challenge too, because it's really hard to maybe look at our life and see some fruits that we have in our life that we're not particularly proud of. But at the same time, to recognize it's never too late. It's never too late to change. That's why we have engrafting. That's why we have fertilizer. That's why we have pruning. Because even an unhealthy, sick tree, if it's not too far gone, can be made healthy and produce good fruit again. So, but it may take time. I mean, we still, even after 4 years or however long it's been, we haven't been able to get these trees to produce more than like 3 or 4 plums. And last year we had a bunch of plums coming, and it hailed on them, and it just destroyed all the plums. We found all the plums just mashed up on the ground, and it was sad. But it's an investment over time. I have confidence that if we nurture and care for and raise these trees in the right way, that they will produce the kind of fruits that we envisioned from the beginning. So that is, my message for today. I just want to finish off by rereading that quote by our true Father. He says, "Be a friend. Be a friend to both good and evil people, but never become reconciled with evil. Act as a magnet to turn others around to the good side." Please join me in prayer. Good morning, our most beloved Heavenly Parent. We're so grateful for a new day. We have so many things to be grateful for. We pray for people who are suffering with resentment and anger and bitterness because of the injustice that's happened in Minneapolis, and many people can seem really justified in their feelings and their actions. Heavenly Parent, I pray that for comfort for those people, for their hearts and their souls. I pray that over time that we can help to root out these kinds of injustices and racism that still exist in our country. Heavenly Parent, we know that we've come a long way, but we know that the work is not finished, and there's many things that we see, and there's many things happening in society that we don't see, that are painful and damaging for people's lives. Heavenly Parent, we want to work towards creating a world where people don't have to experience these kind of things in their life. People don't have to suffer through these kind of unnecessary pain and experiences. Heavenly Parent, we know that even in our own lives, we have things that maybe we're not proud of, mistakes that we've made. I pray, Heavenly Parent, that as the years go by and as time goes by, that we can look for how do we work in our lives, what kind of actions can we take to root out evil in our lives and to promote goodness, to promote having those 3 blessings in our life, to create a mind and body united under your will, and to create a family united in the same, and to create a world that really reflects the vision that you had for it, that really has the fruits that you wish to see in this world. Heavenly Parent, we thank you for your guidance, for your love, for your grace, and at times the tough love that you give us as well. We pray for your ongoing guidance. Heavenly Parent, please continue to lead us in our lives and guide this world the way that you want to see it happen. Heavenly Parent, I thank you and I offer this prayer in my name, Michael and Adonia Hendricka, blessed Central Family. Amen and adieu. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. I know the video was a little long today, but hopefully we didn't lose you anywhere in there. We thank you for continuing to just keep up with what's happening in the community. We look forward to the day where we can start gathering together again. Still no word from the governor about churches. It's not looking too good. But at the same time, we're not suffering either. At least I hope you are not. Please, if you are, please reach out to us. We like to help in any way we can. And church is open. Church is always open. You're always welcome to come here and take a breather if you need to. So, is anything else?
It's good.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Have a good week. We'll see you next week.